The final race of the weekend for the Euroformula Open Cars and Drivers, race 3 of their weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps. We've had fabulous racing in both of the races that have come so far, and you'd have to anticipate the same again here in race number 3. Well, we've got a reverse grid again. This time it's a partially reversed grid, top 6, based on the qualifying order. So that means that Oliver Goethe, who was of course our pole sitter on Saturday qualifying, will start from 6th place as he did earlier on. And we know that doesn't necessarily discount him from victory contention. He's already gone from 6th on the grid to 1st in the race once today. We'll see whether he can match that feat once again here in race 3 at Spa. It is Sebastian Ogier then who takes the pole position for this race. As you see there, we've got fans and VIPs around the circuit this weekend. We've got free access to the venue this weekend. Everyone can get in for free and see the racing up close and personal. And so we do have a good contingent of racing fans here today at Spa. Sebastian Ogier, as I said, on the pole position, and he'll be joined on the front row by that man, Francesco Simonazzi, who we just saw in the 85 car, 84 car, I should say, Simonazzi for BVM Racing will start 2nd today. Certainly had a dramatic weekend to this point in the Euroformula, but Oliver Goethe currently has both wins under his belt. He has yet to do a clean sweep this season on any of our Euroformula Open weekends, but George, you'd be hard-pressed to discount the possibility here, given he's already gone from 6th to 1st once today. However, of course, he's got a lot of very competitive drivers up ahead of him to dispatch first.
Absolutely, and do you think they're going to let him do it? That's the big question. No, I can't imagine they will. Obviously, Christian Mansell, he himself, I think, wanted a little bit more out of that race himself, but Oliver Goethe doing some wonderful work in order to cultivate yet another victory. Of course, came into the weekend 4 wins this season. He has now since stretched that by another 2, so that's 6 wins, and continues his great form of collecting at least 1 win at each individual circuit. So that's a form that will continue. But I tell you what he would like to have, and that is a win in every single race this weekend at Spa.
Yeah, that would be great for his championship hopes as well. He's 54 points clear in the championship following race 2 today. Also worth noting that because this result, or this grid, is based on the qualifying results from yesterday, albeit top 6 inversed, that means that once again, Vladislav Lomko, Josh Mason and Frederick Lubin, who all had disrupted qualifying sessions on Saturday, they have to start from the back again. Of course, Mason finished 3rd. He had his first podium in Euroformula Open yesterday. He finished 3rd on the road again today, but track limits penalties put him down to 7th eventually in the finishing order. Vladislav Lomko, we know he's always competitive, and Freddie Lubin will be hoping for better things from this race, the final race at Spa. There is Sebastian Ogier. He's already had a race win this year. The 3rd race at Estoril went his way. What about the 3rd race at Spa? Francesco Simonazzi in the 84 car, ready to go from 2nd on the grid. Alex Garcia in 3rd position. A great starting position this for Alex Garcia, who's been hunting that podium. Can he make it happen in race 3 of the weekend? Christian Mansell will be making every effort to move up the order in this one. He went from 5th to 1st in just a few corners in our race earlier today, but ultimately finished 2nd. He'll want to go one better this time around. Philipp Ugran starting from 5th place alongside Oliver Goethe. Goethe lining up 2nd.
Massive headwind though.
You may also note, as Stuart Hall has a chat with Oliver Goethe, you may also note that there are some ribbon stickers on a lot of the Moto Park cars. I'll point it out next time we see it, as we look at Philippe Caminiaz, the returning driver, 7th on the grid. And there you see, just below the number 78 there, you've got that ribbon there that was actually placed on the car by none other than Christian Mansell. Those are mental health awareness stickers. It is Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and Christian and the Mansell family are personally involved, personally affected by matters mental health, and Christian going above and beyond to make sure that there's representation of that on the cars this weekend. You see Vladislav Lomko there at the back of the order. He will be looking to make up positions. Of course, the Po Grand Prix winner up in the history books with the likes of Lewis Hamilton after that result. The highlights from race 1 and race 2 then, as the race got underway, it was Christian Mansell with a fabulous start. And eventually, though, he didn't quite get the lead after that one. He ended up in a great scrap with Josh Mason, though, and there was a bit of a moment, a little bit of contact between the two of them, of course. But thankfully, the two Crypto Tower guys survived it. Moto Park's Oliver Goethe, though, taking the win in race number 1. Race number 2 in slightly gloomier conditions earlier today. Race number 2 got off to a great start for Ogard, who had a nice lead into the first corner. Mason and Mansell both had brilliant starts from further back in the pack, although it would be Christian Mansell very quickly up from second to first, and Oliver Goethe very soon made his way up to the back of Mansell. And soon enough, Goethe would be back to the head of the order. Checkered flag waved for Oliver Goethe, a second win at Spa and a new championship advantage, a much bigger championship advantage as well for Oliver Goethe now. 54 points for Goethe at the sharp end of the order on 226. Mansell and Lomko are top 3 in the title race at the moment. Formation lap will be beginning very shortly then for this, the third race of the weekend in Euroformula Open. Sebastian Ogard and Francesco Simonazzi on the front row of the grid. Team Motorpark's Alex Garcia alongside Christian Mansell of Crypto Tower on that second row of the grid. Philip Ugran in 5th and Oliver Goethe 6th. Our pole sitter from race number 1, working again from 6th place for the second consecutive race. Kaminias and Frederic Lubin there in 7th and 8th respectively. Josh Mason down in 9th and Vladislav Lomko in 10th. Those last 3 drivers didn't get the opportunity to set a representative time in qualifying, and we're sure we're going to see them work through the order. Of course, Josh Mason seems to have a brilliant habit of having his best races when he's got the most cars to overtake. He's starting from 9th today, as he did yesterday, and he ended up getting a podium in our first race of the weekend. George, do you reckon he can do that again?
Well, he'd be looking for a similar start, that's for sure. He got away off the line, 4 places gained in that initial burst, so full credit to him. His efforts did not go unrewarded, and he'll be looking for a similar launch, albeit maybe even a better result today. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly as the cars now peel away, and as I alluded to earlier on, much cooler temperatures here today at Spa. And you can see now getting underway Christian Mansell, 4th spot on the grid, as he now makes his way around La Source. Well, he'll be hoping to get an equally decent start, pretty much like what he had previously in other races that we've had here at Spa as well. Certainly seems well versed to it here. And as we now witness Sebastian Ogard and Francesco Simonazzi lead them up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Alex Garcia will be in behind those. Of course, Alex Garcia himself actually proving to be a very feisty character, very good defensive head on that young man. We've witnessed it time and time and again this weekend. Certainly seems to have upped his level a little bit since we've seen him at Estoril, Po, and of course Paul Ricard.
Yeah, well, we saw him in a good scrap as well for what I think was 4th position at Paul Ricard in race 3. Unfortunately, he ended up in a spin eventually there, but this weekend he has been on fabulous form and now starts from 3rd position. Incidentally, all of the top 3 drivers on this grid are in the rookie class as well, a rookie class that's currently headed in the championship standings by Vladislav Lomko, but Lomko starts at the back, and those top 3 drivers all in the rookie class may be able to score some good points over Lomko if they can manage to retain a position over the Po Grand Prix winner from earlier this season. So Ogard, our pole sitter, he of course is out of the Van Amersfoort racing camp, and Van Amersfoort would love to see a second victory of the season for both the team and Sebastian Ogard, as I think Mansell got rather caught out by how the field slowed down there for a moment, had to kind of avoid the back of Alex Garcia there. Certainly that'll get the brakes up to temp, if nothing else. And Mansell certainly will be trying to get a start that matches what we've seen from him so far this weekend in that 71 car. He's done some great battling so far, and he's had some great starts. Let's see what he can do with race number 3. Keep an eye on Philippe Augrand as well. I think Philippe is going to see this as an opportunity to redeem the race from yesterday, race 1 of the weekend. He started on the front row and ended up down in 8th, I believe, at the flag. Unfortunately, it was not a good race in the Saturday afternoon for Philippe Augrand. He'll be hoping for better things from this one. Simonazzi as well. He is yet to have started on the front row this year. Let's see what he can do. Simonazzi hasn't had many opportunities at the sharp end so far this year, and you have to think that the young Italian will grasp this one with both hands.
Huge opportunity for him to start in the front row, and I'd imagine he'd look at La Source as a great opportunity to potentially usurp that of Sebastian Ogard, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we know what can happen after you lead out of La Source. Once you head up towards the Kemmel Straight, generally you tend to find that the driver behind you tends to come straight back at you, as we now see the Van Amersfoort team looking on as the cars line up onto the grid. The sun's still shining despite the drop in temperature, so nonetheless we're going to witness some wonderful conditions heading into this new race. All the teams looking on, the garage team, smiles on faces, lovely to see, as we now watch the cars line up on the grid. Lots of spectators, as you alluded to, Adam, watching on now as these single-seaters make their way out onto the track. And let's wait and see who gets the best start heading in towards turn 1.
Well, the lights will soon be displayed. The last car has just made its way into the grid slot. The green flag is displayed and the race will begin. They're underway. It looks like a good start once again for Ogard, and Christian Mansell got a great start, but he had to avoid Simonazzi, had to lift out the throttle a bit there, I think. And second place might be for Alex Garcia. Yes, it is. Garcia, though, still side by side with Philippe Augrand, who has also had an electric getaway. He's there in 3rd now, trying to hold off Christian Mansell. Simonazzi side by side for 5th with Oliver Goethe, and Goethe does move into 5th position. And so it's Ogard that leads the way. Garcia, though, now coming under threat from Philippe Augrand. Philippe Augrand wants to make it a Van Amersfoort 1-2. He wants to chase down his teammate, Christian Mansell, on the grass for a moment there. Manages to keep the car on the straight and narrow. Can't get past Garcia, though. Mansell remains in 4th place. It's not often we see Christian Mansell not make up any positions, and now he's under pressure from Oliver Goethe. Well, dramatic stuff in those first few corners and some very good starts. Philippe Augrand, 3 places in the first sector alone. Good stuff from the Romanian.
Yeah, brilliant stuff indeed. Lots of fighting going on. Of course, Simonazzi under pressure from Frederick Lubin as well, heading through Brachel's corner. And once again, facing Lubin again. As soon as they head around Pouhon, there you can see Goethe just ahead of them as they go toe-to-toe here at this point around Pouhon. Simonazzi trying to hold back the force from Freddie Lubin as they now make their way down towards turn 12 and turn 13 at Les Vaniers. And as they do so, Lubin again makes his way through, does execute the move, very smoothly done indeed. Simonazzi now drops down further. He is now in 7th place as things stand. Further down you can see Caminiars as well. Josh Mason there further back too. Vladislav Lomko rooted still to the back of the field, but as we can now see further up, Ogard still leads. Augrand in 2nd, in 3rd. Alex Garcia, what an electric start. The top 3 all got, including that of Mansell, who has still managed to master the approach from Ollie Goethe. As now once again we see the fight starting to spring into action heading around Blanchimont. There's Ogard, in comes Philippe Augrand, who fancies a go at his teammate. Van Amersfoort look on, I'm sure with bated breath as they come on through. Ogard still leads, Augrand in 2nd, in behind Alex Garcia, still holds on to 3rd place.
So then it's Van Amersfoort 1-2 for the time being. Alex Garcia waiting in the wings as Philippe Augrand takes a look to the inside. Sebastian Ogard, though, still leads. I think Augrand may be realising, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to lead out of La Source, really, because here comes the slipstream. And, of course, with all those cars still very much line astern, still together, this is going to be a very difficult task now for Sebastian Ogard as he flicks left at Eau Rouge and then right and left up the hill through Radion Onto the Kemmel straight he goes. Nugran already pulls out to try and draft alongside the other Van Amersfoort car. And Garcia trying to find room. He does find room. Alex Garcia made his way to the inside line. Does he have the lead? No, it's Philippe Ugran that manages to take the lead after getting a good run out of Radion. Garcia takes second. Sebastian Ogard demoted to third. Just like that, each and every lap in these early stages, we see drama, we see switches of position, and Oliver Goethe tried to go around the outside of Christian Mansell here for fourth position. That wasn't quite on, but Christian Mansell under threat here from Goethe. And what a great scrap we have here at the sharp end of the order.
Yeah, it certainly is. Of course, we've seen many great fights between Goethe and Mansell this season. It's in a different portion of the classification, though, this time. They're squabbling over fourth place as things stand. But Philippe Ugran now the leader here in this race at Spa, race 3 in the Euroformula Open Championship. Alex Garcia, after that excellent move, heading up towards Les Combes, moves into second place with Sebastian Ogard in third. Christian Mansell will be looking on as well to try and keep not only the Great Dane Oliver Goethe in behind, but also trying to chase on Sebastian Ogard for that third place in the classification as they now make their way through. Frederick Lubin in sixth place too, right in behind Oliver Goethe too, with Francesco Simonazzi in behind him. Josh Mason not quite getting the start that he had in our earlier races. Now Oliver Goethe goes hunting on the rear of Mansell as they head through towards Blanchimont and now down through towards the bus stop chicane. Oliver Goethe now once again switching to the outside, heading in towards the next right-hander. Still Mansell holds on. Oh, getting so caught and tied up there. Frederick Lubin nearly becoming a fatality there in behind there, nearly closing in. Maybe even could have lost the front wing if he wasn't careful, but still amazing stuff indeed. Goethe hanging on there. Mansell doing just enough to keep the Dane at bay for how much longer, as now Oliver Goethe dives down the inside of the source. A little twitch in the rear as they go side by side. Once again Mansell holding back the force as now they make their way up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Still nip and tuck between the pair. In comes as well Freddie Lubin looking to come and join the fray. You can see the gap so minimal as they now make the incline now rise up through towards Les Combes through the Kemmel straight. Oliver Goethe now side by side with Christian Mansell. The Aussie looking to his left, can see the Great Dane alongside him. We've got battles as well for the lead, as you can now see as well. But Goethe round the outside still can't execute, takes the off track now, and surely he'll have to give that back to Mansell. Oh, some squabbling there on the grim as well. Josh Mason finding himself off track. Incredible here, Adam.
Both Goethe and Mansell missed their braking points there into Les Combes. Mansell, unfortunately, didn't quite manage to keep the car hooked together. He was trying to make the corner. Goethe bailed across the runoff at Les Combes, but unfortunately Mansell, in trying to make the corner, ultimately cost himself a lot more time and position. They were side by side coming out of the source. Oliver Goethe trying to find traction where seemingly it simply wasn't there, and they both missed the braking point. Goethe goes straight on. Mansell bounces across the curves, goes airborne, ends up bouncing to the outside, almost into the gravel trap in the second part of Les Combes. And now he's down behind Josh Mason. I believe that places him down as far as 8th place now, unfortunately. In fact, make that 7th place because Freddie Lubin was also caught up behind Mansell there. Lubin's bad run of form has continued once again. It's not really a bad run of form, it's a bad run of luck for Freddie Lubin. Down to 8th place now through no fault of his own, and Mansell down to 7th. Josh Mason, though, profits. He's up to 6th place and on the back of Simonazzi.
Yeah, real bout of misfortune, unfortunately, for Freddie Lubin, as now we're watching Simonazzi head down through towards bus stop. He's now in 5th. Mason in behind him too. We're now watching the cars that make their way through towards the source. Leading still, though, Philippe Ugran. And the way things are currently panned out, Garcia currently splitting the two Van Amersfoort cars, with Goethe now in 4th place, currently holding the fastest lap as well. Simonazzi just ahead there of Josh Mason, who you can see him behind, who I'm sure now will take a real shot in the arm for rising up the classification at this point. Might give him certainly the boost he needs to try and maybe make more moves further up the field. He's got Simonazzi ahead of him, might be a chance for him heading up through Kemmel. I'll tell you one man who fancies a move at Kemmel is Ollie Goethe, as he now makes his way through Eau Rouge and Radion. Also making a move, Alex Garcia potentially for the lead here, which would be huge for the Mexican, as he now makes his way up through towards Les Combes, side by side, does take the lead as well. But how about Philippe Ugran? Outside line into Les Combes. Goethe moves into 3rd place as well and goes ahead of Sebastian Ogard. Garcia, though, on top, stays in front. Ugran down to second. Ollie Goethe up to third.
Gets it to third already then, and Ugran is going to have to get the elbows out immediately to defend from him, and he doesn't really want to be doing that. He wants to try and get the lead back of Alex Garcia, but I don't think Oliver Goethe is going to give him the option. Sebastian Ogard there in fourth place still, and Josh Mason up into fifth. Francesco Simonazzi has been demoted down to seventh place. Both Mason and Mansell have now gotten past. A bit of bodywork coming off one of the cars there. Let's take a look at this replay then. You can see Mason and Mansell getting past Simonazzi in the back of shot, but you can see Alex Garcia taking the race lead, and that's a mighty moment for him. And applause for Garcia from those down at the Moto Park garage. There you see the top four in the race still pretty much together as one. The top four split by 1.5 seconds at this stage in the race. Goethe, incidentally, has the fastest lap at the moment, a 2:13.301. You get the feeling there's more pace to come from his Gulf liveried, Rofco liveried car once he's out of this battle, but he might not get there because these two are firmly embroiled in this lead scrap. Alex Garcia and Philipp Ugran are two dueling drivers for the race lead at the moment, are really putting on a great display. And Alex Garcia leading a race in the Euroformula Open. I'm sure he's tense, but it's where he belongs, at the sharp end of the order. We've seen him improve weekend on weekend, and this is the ultimate sign of the progress, holding off Philipp Ugran, who himself has so much experience in junior single-seaters at this point. Philipp Ugran certainly a handy driver, and Alex Garcia is doing more than enough to hold him off.
It's been such a journey for Alex Garcia, and he'll be delighted to come off the back of it with potentially a win on the table, should he be able to hold his position, but he's got plenty of time still left in this race. And you can see now behind Philipp Ugran looking very potent, as well as Ollie Goethe, who's come straight into the mix now as well. Further back, we've got some action happening. That is, of course, and Francesco Simonazzi trying to attack Christian Mansell at that point, heading through Les Combes and through Malmeny as well. Simonazzi giving Mansell a little bit of a headache at this point as they head through towards Bruxelles. And in behind as well, you can see there in the mix of things that Sebastian Ogard still in fourth place, trying to gain on Ollie Goethe as well. It has not left the pack as Sebastian Ogard still very much in the mix. He's got Josh Mason for company as well in behind him. But still, Alex Garcia leads the way with Philipp Ugran in second, Oliver Goethe in third.
Just watching the back of shot, particularly at the camera that's stationed at Jackie Ick's corner, you can see the trees really being battered around by the wind. I heard a couple of the driver coaches alluding to that on the grid as well, that there's a lot of wind. I just wonder whether Mansell and Goethe earlier on, when they both missed the braking zone at the source, I wonder, at Les Combes, I wonder if the wind may have been a factor in that. Lightweight single-seater racing cars, they are very much affected by the wind, particularly if the wind is coming from behind the car, and then it can really push you on. That might be the case. Oliver Goethe, though, pushing on at the moment, trying to get away past Philipp Ugran, trying to go to the outside here as they approach the bus stop for the fourth time in the race. Goethe's got a nose ahead. I think he's done it. Yes, he has. Oliver Goethe up into P2 then. Made it look fairly easy there on Philipp Ugran, but maybe Ugran might be wanting that slipstream back up the Kemmel Straight.
You'll have the opportunity, certainly, as long as he can stay on the rear of Ollie Goethe's car. Rounding La Source, still Garcia leads, but Goethe in behind as well. Team Motor Park, you can see they're issuing instructions as time goes on. Ugran there in third, obviously trying to perhaps hook something up now, heading through Eau Rouge and Radion as they make the climb very shortly up through towards the Kemmel Straight. There you can see them now. Garcia with a pretty decent advantage right now, 7/10 of a second. Ugran, as we have a look at the replay now of Goethe's move on Philipp Ugran, down in towards bus stop and taking the outside line, and managed to find his way through. Got very tight between the pair, but Goethe managing to hold him off and take that second place. So credit to him, that's exactly the move he needs to make. Now he can focus on Alex Garcia.
Yes, he can, although we did have a bulletin flash up saying team manager for car 96 to come to race control immediately, so hopefully they've not seen issue with anything that's happened so far in the race for Goethe. We'll have to wait and see whether that results in a decision one way or t'other. 88 car in, that's a huge shame for Philip Caminias. It's been a difficult return to Euroformula Open thus far for Philip, and unfortunately it seems as though this third race is going to end in retirement. Alex Garcia now being pressured by Ollie Goethe there in second place. It's Philip Ugran in third. Josh Mason has got himself up into fourth position now. We said it again, Josh Mason seems to do his best work when he starts from the back of the grid, and he's already back up there into fourth place and closing in on Philip Ugran. So let's keep an eye on Josh as well. Sebastian Ogard there in fifth. Christian Mansell still behind Ogard in sixth place at the moment, but Mansell maybe on the offensive there. We saw him look to the inside of Ogard just as we looked away. Let's see if he's through. Watch the back of shot. Yes, Christian Mansell is through into fifth place, and Goethe going for the lead. Oliver Goethe around the outside. He's done it once. He's done it twice. Oliver Goethe into the lead for Alex Garcia, trying to get the run out of the bus stop chicane to immediately challenge the number 96 car. And Oliver Goethe trying to go defensive here. Garcia may just wait, bide his time. That looks like it's exactly what he's doing at this point. The 96 car being made wide. And for now, he leads. But of course, as we get a replay of this move for the lead, he's now going to come under threat up through Radion and along the Kemmel Straight. We will no doubt see Goethe under pressure from Garcia and the chasing pack as they run up that run to Les Combes. We now look to live pictures, and sure enough, Garcia is through into the lead of the race, and Ugran trying for it as well. Philip Ugran, oh, he's off the track there. That position I don't think will stand, because that was way, way off track, and I think immediately he knows it as well, because he's backed off there. Car 96, 5-second penalty, gaining an advantage at Les Combes. That would be in the moment with Christian Mansell, so that will be added to the race time. If Oliver Goethe wants a win, he's going to have to gap the field by 5 seconds.
Well, the hopes of getting 3 race wins in a single weekend could become, well, maybe a non-starter should it stay the way it is. 5 seconds of penalties to be applied to the time on Oliver Goethe's car, as now we're seeing yet more scrapping happening as Garcia. Oh no, Philip Ugran, what a save! Heading through turns 12 and 13, Oliver Goethe was ready to pounce on it, though Philip Ugran would feel a little bit hurt after that one. A little slide heading through turns 12 and 13 and settled the car. Garcia leading the way, Goethe in second, Ugran now third, Mason all over his rear in fourth.
Ugran was preempting a penalty there. We've already just seen a textbook example. If you go over that runoff at Les Combes and you gain time, you're going to lose your position and gain a penalty. Ugran decided to give the positions back before a penalty was applied. I imagine he'll be in the good books now of the stewards, as Oliver Goethe looms large again behind Alex Garcia, who is once again in the lead of the race. Once again, all of the top cars are together. Collision there between Mansell and Ogard, and Christian Mansell is taking the very long way round that last corner. It's Garcia in the lead, Goethe in second, Mansell defending now against Lomko, and Simonazzi having a look as well at the inside of Vladislav Lomko, all kicking off. Every single car that's still in the race is in one big pack. The field spread by 3 seconds as they come across the line. Spectacular racing here at Spa. Garcia leads them. He's got a good advantage over Goethe as they go up over the hill and along the Kemmel Straight, but Goethe will have the slipstream. Will it be good enough? Josh Mason, though, pressuring Philip Ugran.
Yeah, indeed. We got plenty of battles right across here at the moment. Josh Mason doing his best, trying to keep Philip Ugran now at bay, but no, Philip Ugran holds on to that third place. Mason down into fourth. There was some scrapping happening further down. Sebastian Ogard, Vladislav Lomko, Christian Mansell right in the eye of the storm at that particular point. Here's the replay of them coming through towards turns 12 and 13, and obviously trying to allow the places through. We've got so close between Goethe and Philip Ugran. Ugran managed to and the response says it all on the pit wall, but Ugran doing his utmost to keep the car on track. He did just that, and now he continues racing, and you can see now Goethe peppering Alex Garcia's car.
Yet stuck behind Garcia at the moment is Goethe, and emphasis on stuck. That's what he's going to be feeling at the moment, because of course now he doesn't just have to pass Garcia, he has to make 5 seconds on the pack if he wants to claim this win. Oliver Goethe's stakes have just been raised. Of course, he's done this before. He got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Alex Peroni in a race at Estoril in the first weekend of the year, but he still went on to take the win. It's going to be a harder task now, though, because Alex Garcia is making his car very wide. The Motor Park teammates going side by side as they run towards Blanchimont. Who's going to be the bravest of them? Side by side. Now Oliver Goethe has the inside line for the run to the bus stop, and surely he'll have the lead. Philipp Ugran having a sniff as well, but it is Oliver Goethe into the lead of the race for the time being. Alex Garcia down to second place, and Ugran just behind him as well. Now these three behind Oliver Goethe would be very wise to just stay in formation now and go for the slipstream up the Kemmel Straight to make sure the leader doesn't break away.
They certainly will. You're absolutely spot on. We're just here watching the replay now. Alex Garcia going side by side with Goethe, heading out of Blanchimont in towards the final chicane at bus stop. You can see him behind as well. Ugran having a little look as well, just trying to show himself in the mirrors. And Josh Mason in behind him too. String of 4 cars there making their way through that portion of the track as now we witness the cars now come up through the Kemmel Straight. Some action going on further on behind. You can see Goethe still holding on to that lead. You've got Mansell in the thick of things as well as many others, as now Garcia and Philipp Ugran go toe-to-toe. Further back as well, you can see there Christian Mansell also getting into the swing of things with Vladislav Lonko as well, as they head through side by side through this next ride. Mansell on top as he heads through Malmedy, and he'll hold on to that overtake as well, heading through towards the Brachel's corner. You can see Simonazzi as well trying to tag on Freddie Lubin as they head through this next right. Lubin doing his utmost to hold up Brachel's, does so indeed. Simonazzi will have to try again next time.
Notice that Freddie Lubin's missing part of his front nose cone on that 78 car, though I think the race has been a rough one to this point for Freddie Lubin, and sits there at the moment down in what is now 8th place. Again, Lubin, while the pace is often there, he was fastest in FP2 on Friday. He just hasn't been able to string together a good weekend since Estoril, unfortunately. We were hoping this would be the regroup weekend for Freddie Lubin. He's going to have to try and take another swing at it when we go to the Hungara ring next month. It is Oliver Goethe at the sharp end of the order, though, in that number 96 car. Lap 9 of the race ongoing at the moment. And Goethe in the 96 has built that lead that he needed. Not all of it, though, but it's 1.6 seconds, and it's going to be helped by this as Ugran continues to try and find his way past Alex Garcia. Garcia is going to be so frustrated because he's having to defend and defend against Philipp Ugran, and he's just watching Goethe drive away. I'm sure he'll be aware of the 5-second situation. He'll have been told by his team about the penalty for Goethe, and he's really not powerless to do anything about Oliver Goethe, but his chances of staying within 5 seconds diminish every time he has to dart around and compromise his run through corners as he fights off Ugran.
Yeah, especially being over 1 second outside of the gap between him and Goethe, because of course now he can't get necessarily the slipstream he would have wanted, and it does leave him exposed to the likes of Philipp Ugran and Josh Mason in behind. So there's going to be quite a conglomerate there trying to tackle that P2 position. Again, there's some side-by-side action further back. Mansell and Lonko once again going toe-to-toe. Further back as well, Ogard and Lubin coming together too as they make their way through. Lubin trying to find his way through. He does. Simonazzi also fancies to go around Sebastian Ogard, and he does get through as well. The BVM driver marshalling an effort heading around Malmedy, managed to secure it now as they head through Brachel's. Exquisite.
Absolutely. There is a battle further back for 8th place. Simonazzi continuing to scrap with Sebastian Ogard, who has now fallen right to the back of the pack in amongst everything going on in this race. It's really unfortunate to see Ogard struggling again in this one. There's Ugran in 3rd position. Philipp really has been exemplary in this race. Of course, he started in 5th. He's now there in 3rd. He's been challenging for the lead at various points. One of the best drives of the season that we've seen out of Ugran so far, with 5 laps left to go. but Goethe extending the lead sector on sector. 2.2 now between Goethe and Garcia. I remind you, there's a 5-second penalty for driving across the Lecombe runoff area for Goethe. And he's got to bear that in mind. Ugran going for second place once again. He's going to try and do a Goethe around the outside at the bus stop. He can't quite make it, though, around the outside of Garcia. Ugran trying to give himself a good run off of the bus stop, and he does. There's Josh Mason in 4th place as well. Mason just kind of biding his time at the moment, watching on as the two ahead of him scrap. Mason would love to get 2 podiums in the same weekend. Spa is a circuit that's been kind to him. It was a visit to Spa, to the Belgian Grand Prix, that made him realise, I want to be a racing driver. And he has been very competitive so far this weekend. If he can stand on the podium here again, I'm sure it would be of delight to him. It would certainly be his best weekend of the season so far. You see Garcia again going defensive. Christian Mansell having to do the same as he continues to dice with Vladislav Lomko. Garcia in 2nd place, staying in 2nd place despite the best efforts of Philippe Ugran. Josh Mason there now right behind Ugran still. And Garcia's just got a couple of car lengths now over Philippe Ugran. Ugran going defensive. Josh Mason now trying to make that move for the podium position, and Christian Mansell still in 5th place as well. He held on despite the best efforts of Vladislav Lomko. Great racing this from all parties concerned. Alex Garcia remaining in 2nd place.
Spa has certainly delivered here in the Euroformula Open this weekend. We've seen plenty of action across the board, and Oliver Goethe, with all the scrapping, has managed to marshal out yet more time in between him and Alex Garcia at this time. Philippe Ugran in 3rd, Josh Mason looking again for another podium here at Spa, and that will certainly go along with what you were saying, Adam, with his love for this very track that, of course, delivers great racing, as we have seen, as I alluded to before. Also looking back, Vladislav Lomko, who is certainly a very tenacious character, obviously trying to give Christian Mansell a hard time at this moment. Mansell holds the fastest lap of the race so far, so he is trying to generate quite a bit of pace. Unfortunately, not quite enough to challenge that of Josh Mason, who's currently sat in 4th, 0.6 of a second between the pair. Goethe now with an advantage of 3.1 seconds. In comes now Philippe Ugran on Alex Garcia again, looking for that move at the bus stop chicane. Not quite able to cultivate that into an overtake, but further back now, Josh Mason once again just watching them unfold the battle here at this point, maybe patiently waiting for his chance to come across as we come into the final 3 laps of the race.
So then Garcia about to come under threat again with 3 to go as Philippe Ugran clearly trying to find some traction. Reminder that Ugran more than likely is wearing a set of tyres that have been through some stuff. They had one set less of tyres in the Van Amersfoort camp as they did 2 runs in quali yesterday. Ugran, though, going to come under pressure, I think, from Josh Mason. That sideways moment at La Source is costing him on the Kemmel Straight. And here comes Josh Mason. Garcia defending as well. Mason trying to find a way through, but I think he had to lift out the throttle a little bit there to make sure he didn't get into Alex Garcia. And the net result is no change. Ugran remains 3rd, Mason remains 4th, and Alex Garcia continues to put on a spirited defence of 2nd place.
It's the defensive display that we have seen all weekend. We continue to see it again here in race 3. He is doing a superb job keeping Philippe Ugran at bay despite that hard-charged route up through Kemmel, which we have seen on frequent occasions deliver overtakes time and time and again. Garcia, though, finding the kryptonite to keep Ugran behind him, as well as Mason, who looked to get into the scrap as well. He'd be absolutely delighted. The Mexican sensation, that is Alex Garcia, in 2nd place as they now marshal their way through the next right-hander and the next step, the chicane between turns 12 and 13, before they then head down through towards Campus Corner. Still Goethe leads with a significant advantage at this point. In behind as well, we've got Garcia, Ugran, Mason, Mansell now has joined them as well, so plenty of cars now in the fray. You can see Vladislav Lomko doesn't want to be left out either. He wants to come into the fight. Everyone's jumping in. It's one big party here for the fight for the podium places, and we love to see it.
Well, Mansell and Mason have already had a good scrap so far today. We saw it in race 1, I should say. A great scrap between the 2 of them, and now they're locking heads again. Mansell trying to dart to the inside, couldn't do it. Philippe Ugran up the inside of Alex Garcia for 2nd place, and Philippe Ugran has done it. Great move there from Philippe Ugran to go go back to second place. Meanwhile, the gap between the top two is 4.7 seconds. Mason dives to the inside of Garcia. Can he make it stick side by side? Or a little bit of a moment between the two of them, and that's opened up the door not just to Mason but also to Mansell. Oh, Garcia, the floodgates have opened for Alex Garcia. Side by side, is it going to be? Yes, it is, between Garcia and Mansell. They're both trying so hard to claim this fourth position. It looks as though Mansell's done it for now, but Ugran going defensive for second place. Mason trying to go for second place as well now. Keep an eye on Garcia and Mansell too. Is it Mason in second? Yes, it is. Josh Mason up to P2 for the second time this weekend. He holds the second step on the podium for now. Ugran third, Garcia fourth, and fifth place for Christian Mansell at the moment. 4.935 seconds is the gap between Goethe and Mason. Oliver Goethe just a few hundredths away from nullifying that 5-second penalty.
Yeah, the 3 in a row is looking good at this moment in time. Should he break into that 5-second gap? Josh Mason, though, with yet another sterling drive into second place. Philip Ugran in third as well, still holding on to that podium position. Garcia, unfortunately, dropping back. When we saw the overtakes happen, of course, Ugran pulling off that switchback, heading into the bus stop chicane. You can tell that Mason saw that and thought, I'd like some of that too. Did exactly the same, heading in towards La Source, and managed to execute it superbly well and gain and move up into second place. Here is the move again. Josh Mason flicking in behind that of Alex Garcia, and that, well, basically is what lent him that third place on that classification at that point after the move at La Source, and it teed up a perfect opportunity to then make the move on Philip Ugran coming up towards the end of the Kemmel Straight. Sensational effort, and you could see what it means to his team.
That was Josh Mason's family, dad and uncle in the foreground of the shot there, willing on Josh Mason, who sits second at the moment ahead of Philip Ugran. Fourth place, Alex Garcia there, and Christian Mansell rounding out the top 5 at the moment, with Vladislav Lomko still there in 6th. We're on to the final lap of the race. The gap between Goethe and Mason is out to 6.2 seconds. So as long as Goethe has a smooth final lap, it is as long as he has a smooth final lap, it is going to be another win for Oliver Goethe, even with that 5-second penalty. The question is, though, what order is 2nd through 6th going to be in? It could go either way. There's Lomko in 6th position. Here come these 5 cars. Alex Garcia wants his podium back. He's going to take it off Philip Ugran if he possibly can. Oh, contact between the two of them, and Garcia's car damaged there by going up into the air. Oh, what a shame for Alex Garcia. It was a brilliant race to that point, but the car pitched into the air with contact with Philip Ugran, and that is such a cruel end to a fabulous weekend of racing from Alex Garcia. Unfortunately, his podium campaign has ended with a bang.
Yeah, it has indeed, quite literally. In fact, heading onto the grass, colliding with the wall after the touching moment between him and Philip Ugran. It all came to a head then, heading in towards Les Combes. Big misfortune then for Alex Garcia on what looked to be such a strong weekend. There you can see, just the touch. The touch was all it needed. Lost the car, ended up colliding with the steel barriers on the left-hand side of his picture, the right side of our picture, heading up towards Les Combes. He will be absolutely floored with that. There you can see him getting out the car. Oh, poor Alex. So sorry to see that. That is a real shame.
Yeah, Alex deserved the results he was on for there. Unfortunately, in the final moments, he has retired from this race. Oliver Goethe, though, 7.6 seconds clear of the chasing pack, means that that 5-second penalty has well and truly been lifted from his shoulder. And for the first time in the 2022 Euroformula Open season, it's going to be a clean sweep. 3 wins from 3 for Oliver Goethe at Spa-Francorchamps. What a weekend for his championship campaign. Oh, and the podium battle has got very messy in the final moments. It's a drag race across the line. Mason gets second and Lomko gets third position at the line. A 3-way drag race. Goodness gracious me. We need to see a replay of what was going on there. Christian Mansell on the screen, at least for now, taking 4th place, missing out by 0.02 of a second. Here's the moment. Mansell went for it up the inside of Ugran. Contact between the two of them, and that opened the door for Vladislav Lomko. per what the timing screen is saying, for now, Lomco beat Mansell to the line by 0.02 of a second. Ugran took 5th place there, but it was certainly very forcible driving, shall we say, between Christian Mansell and Philipp Ugran there. Both drivers ending up off the circuit, both drivers ending up with a little bit of bodywork missing. But Vladislav Lomco capitalised on that perfectly. And Oliver Goethe is once again at the sharp end of the order. Stuart Hall there, his driver coach, wishing him well after that result. And Oliver Goethe, well, the championship campaign that was already looking so promising after Paul Ricard is now looking very favourable indeed.
It's looking very good. He is very clear, clear at the top there. Josh Mason obviously in second. Vladislav Lomco coming home in third to continue his wonderful podium, his podium record this season. What a wonderful race. And Josh Mason as well. How about that result for Josh Mason, following up already a 3rd place this weekend, and he's only just gone and done a 2nd place this time. He's going to be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, that's great stuff from Josh Mason. Oliver Goethe taking the race win then by just 2.7 seconds ultimately. Vladislav Lomco rounding out the podium by 0.02 of a second ahead of Christian Mansell and Philipp Ugran after their spat in the final corner. Freddie Lubin rounding out the top 6 ahead of Sebastian Ogard for Van Amersfoort Racing. Francesco Simonazzi rounding out the finishers, and Alex Garcia on the final lap of the race in a collision that ended his race. Hugely unfortunate for Alex. Here are the championship standings. Oliver Goethe, 66 points clear now of Christian Mansell after a massive display from the Dane. Vladislav Lomco at 159 with that podium. Sebastian Ogard still in 4th position. But wow, oh wow, what a race that was. Vladislav Lomco was in 6th place as they crossed the line to start the final lap. As he took the checkered flag, he was just about in 3rd. Josh Mason taking 2nd, his 2nd podium ever in Euroformula Open, 2 in the same weekend, and this time he's on the 2nd step, his best weekend in Euroformula Open, and delighted for him. Oliver Goethe with the victory though. Let's hear from young Ollie.
So Oliver, it's hat-trick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect weekend. This race was really difficult. Yeah, to get to P1 first of all was a really difficult job. The Vars and Garcia was fighting really well, so it was difficult to pass them. And I obviously got that penalty, which I completely disagree with. He was driving very dangerously, but in the end I got the penalty, so I had to push like crazy to create that gap, and I did it, and in the end I'm really happy with that.
A perfect weekend though.
Yeah, perfect weekend. It's great for the championship. I mean, what else can I say? Three wins, three fastest laps, was it? Or not this way?
Could be.
I don't know. I don't know yet. And pole position. So it's a great weekend, and hopefully that can continue in the next rounds.
Let's see you in 1 month in Hungary. Well done.
Well, I can confirm that Christian Mansell has the fastest lap, so not quite perfect, but very close to it for Oliver Goethe. Highlights then from race 3. It was Sebastian Ogard on pole position as we got the race underway. Christian Mansell with another one of his lightning starts, but got rather bogged down by Francesco Simonazzi. That opened the door for Alex Garcia to take 2nd position in the early stages. Ugran in 3rd from 5th on the grid, and those two would be fighting for the podium all race long. Christian Mansell and Oliver Goethe, they're both running a little bit deep into Le Comte, and that would slightly damage Freddie Lubin's front wing as well. It would also give Oliver Goethe a 5-second penalty that he would have to consider if he wanted to take that win. He set about carving through the order, first getting past Philipp Ugran for 2nd place, and it wouldn't be too long before he managed to get past Alex Garcia for the lead. Garcia would fight back. However, ultimately Goethe would start to gap him and the chasing pack to eventually claim the lead. And on the very final lap, after so much scrapping between them, Garcia and Ugran in a collision on the Kemmel Straight, and unfortunately Alex Garcia not able to finish this race after that collision. But Oliver Goethe, for the third time, is due on the top step of the podium at Spa. The perfect weekend for the Great Dane, and drama on the final lap as well, as Ugran and Mansell got physical, and that left the door open for Vladislav Lomko. Vladislav Lomko claiming third in the final moments there of that race by just 0.02 of a second over Christian Mansell. Well, 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 what a race this has been. Oliver Goethe, this weekend, he's never had it that easy. He's always had someone to scrap with, but Oliver Goethe has shown again why he could well be the class of the field this year.
Yeah, class of the field indeed. 3 in a row here at Spa. What a track to do it at as well. Such a legendary circuit. You see what it means to his team as well. They were jumping for joy, smiles on faces, and this was the response from Goethe heading into Parc Ferme. Stuart Hall obviously there watching on, no doubt delighted with the performances. Now they take to the podium. Lomko, you can see in his familiar third place spot on the podium as well. But Josh Mason, who hasn't yet scored a P2, has got one in the bag, and you can see what it means to him and his team as well. But no question as to who's on the top step. Ollie Goethe has done it again. 3 wins in a row here at Spa.
So there you go, a bit of a remix of the Danish national anthem there for Oliver Goethe, as we observe the final podium of the weekend, at least in the overall standings. Oliver Goethe with Josh Mason and Vladislav Lomko on the podium. And it's been a turnaround weekend for Josh Mason's season. It's been a continuation of a fabulous campaign for Oliver Goethe. And is Oliver Goethe finally going to have some friends to play with when it comes to spraying of champagne? Yes, he does. And Josh Mason joins in this time for good measure. The champagne is sprayed as the drivers celebrate that result here today. It's been a fabulous weekend at Spa for the Euroformula Open. We'll see you next time in the Hungaroring.